Shame used to stop people from doing terrible things. Now it stops them from doing anything at all. You've been taught that shame protects society, that it keeps people moral, decent, in check. But look around. The ones winning, the ones accumulating power, wealth, control, feel no shame. They act without hesitation. They take without apology. They dominate without guilt. Meanwhile, you're paralyzed, not by lack of ability, by the weight of worrying what others think. And that's not morality. That's control. Machiavelli saw this coming 5 centuries ago. He understood that shame isn't a shield, it's a leash. And the moment that leash breaks, everything changes. This isn't theory, it's observable reality. The collapse of shame isn't making people worse. It's making them free. Free to act on self-interest. Free to set boundaries without explanation. Free to pursue power without performing humility. And if that terrifies you, it's because you're still operating under rules that no one else follows. You're still trying to be good in a game where good means controllable. This video will show you exactly how shame became a tool of manipulation, why it's dying and what rises in its place. And by the end, you'll understand why the people who refuse to feel it are the ones reshaping the world. 8 principles. No comfort, just truth. 1. The death of moral restraint. You were taught that morality protects you, that if you follow the rules, respect boundaries and show restraint, the world rewards you with fairness. It doesn't. Morality is a leash, one you wear while others run free. The moment you accept this, you see the game for what it is. Survival, dressed as virtue. People don't respect your restraint. They exploit it. They mistake your discipline for weakness, your silence for fear. And while you hold back, they take what you hesitated to claim. Restraint without power is just obedience with a better name. I've watched it happen in boardrooms, relationships, negotiations. The one who hesitates loses. Not because hesitation is wrong, but because the other side doesn't hesitate. They don't pause to consider fairness or consequence. They act. And action, even ruthless action, commands more respect than passive morality ever will. You think holding back makes you noble. It makes you invisible. People remember the one who took control, not the one who played it safe. Morality without dominance is a whisper in a room full of noise. Consider this. A man refuses to lie in a business deal because it violates his principles. His competitor has no such limit. The competitor wins the contract, scales his empire, and rewrites the narrative to make himself the hero. Meanwhile, the moral man tells himself he kept his integrity. But integrity doesn't pay rent. It doesn't build empires. It doesn't earn fear or respect. It earns you a pat on the back from people who also lost. Restraint is only valuable when it's a choice backed by power, not a default setting born from approval seeking. The collapse didn't happen overnight. Moral restraint eroded because it stopped serving those who practiced it. When kindness gets punished and manipulation gets rewarded, people adapt. They learn that the world doesn't run on ethics. It runs on leverage. You either understand this and adjust, or you stay trapped in a system designed to keep you compliant. The ones who thrive aren't the ones with the strongest morals. They're the ones who know when to abandon them. Morality is a tool, not a religion, and tools are only useful when you control how and when to use them. So here's the truth you've been avoiding. Restraint is only respected when it's feared. When people know you could destroy them but choose not to, that's power. But if they sense you won't act because you can't, because you're bound by some internal need for approval, they'll walk over you. Morality must be weaponized or it becomes a liability. The world doesn't reward the restrained, it rewards the strategic, and strategy begins the moment you stop believing fairness exists. 2. How shame became a tool of control. Shame isn't natural, it's installed. Someone somewhere along the line taught you that certain actions, thoughts, or desires made you less. And you believed it. That belief didn't protect you, it controlled you. Shame is the most efficient form of manipulation because it doesn't require force. It operates silently, from within. You police yourself. You shrink before anyone even speaks. And the people who benefit from your shame never have to lift a finger. They just watch you manage your own prison. Look at how it works in practice. A child reaches for something they want: attention, power, control over their own choices. An adult steps in, not with reason, but with emotional consequence. Don't be selfish. You should be ashamed of yourself. The message is clear. Your desire is wrong. Over time, that child learns to fear their own instincts. They stop reaching, they stop wanting, and by the time they're grown, they don't need anyone to shame them. They do it themselves. That's the brilliance of it. Shame becomes self-sustaining. You become the warden of your own limitations. I've seen it in every hierarchy: corporate, social, romantic. The person who controls the shame controls the behavior. A boss doesn't need to fire you if he can make you feel guilty for asking for more. A partner doesn't need to argue if they can make you feel ashamed for having boundaries. Shame is cheaper than confrontation and more effective than force. It bypasses logic and strikes directly at your sense of worth. And once your worth feels conditional, you'll do anything to earn it back, even if it means sacrificing your power, your respect, your survival instincts. This is why shame always targets the same things: ambition, anger, self-interest, dominance. The emotions that make you dangerous, the instincts that make you hard to control. You're taught to feel bad for wanting more, for refusing to settle, for prioritizing yourself. Meanwhile, the people teaching you this, they don't follow the same rules. They take what they want. They set boundaries without guilt. They operate with ruthless clarity while you drown in self-doubt. Shame isn't about morality. It's about keeping you manageable. The system depends on your compliance, and compliance depends on shame. The moment you stop feeling bad for protecting your interests, for saying no, for refusing to apologize, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability threatens control, so they escalate. They call you selfish, cold, heartless. They weaponize your fear of judgment. But here's what they won't tell you. The people who refuse to feel shame are the ones who dominate every room they enter. Not because they're cruel, because they're free. And freedom, real freedom, starts when you stop letting emotion dictate your choices. 3. Why the masses fear judgment. More than consequences, you'll do almost anything to avoid being judged. You'll lie, shrink, self-censor, abandon your own interests, all to escape the feeling of being seen negatively. But consequences, those you'll risk. You'll stay in a dead-end job because quitting feels selfish. You'll tolerate disrespect because standing up invites criticism. You'll sacrifice years of your life to avoid 30 seconds of social disapproval. This isn't weakness, it's conditioning. You've been trained to fear the opinion of others more than the destruction of your own potential. The masses operate on a simple psychology. Visibility equals vulnerability. Being judged means being exposed, and exposure feels like danger. So people hide. They conform. They perform the version of themselves that earns the least resistance. This is why mediocrity spreads like a disease, not because people lack ambition, but because ambition draws attention, and attention invites judgment. So they stay small, they stay quiet, they live entire lives in the shadow of what others might think. Meanwhile, the consequences of that choice, wasted time, unfulfilled potential, silent resentment, pile up invisibly. But those consequences don't sting the way judgment does. Consequences are slow. Judgment is immediate. I've watched people choose humiliation over honesty, poverty over risk, loneliness over rejection. Not because the alternative was impossible, but because it required them to withstand judgment. A woman stays in a relationship where she's disrespected because leaving means people will ask questions. A man refuses a promotion because it means stepping into a role where he'll be scrutinized. The fear isn't failure. The fear is being seen failing. And that distinction controls everything. You're not afraid of the outcome. You're afraid of the audience. This is why manipulation works. If I want to control your behavior, I don't threaten you with consequences. I threaten you with judgment. I make you afraid of what people will think. Everyone will know you're selfish. They'll see you as weak. You'll be judged as cold, arrogant, ruthless. Those words carry more weight than any real consequence ever could, because judgment attacks identity. And most people would rather destroy their future than damage their image. They'd rather live a lie than risk exposure. That's not survival instinct, that's social programming, and it's the easiest pressure point to exploit. Here's the reality. Consequences are negotiable. Judgment feels permanent. You can recover from failure, loss, even humiliation. But the fear of being judged never quite leaves. It sits in the back of your mind, whispering every time you consider stepping outside the accepted script. And as long as that fear exists, you're controllable. The moment you choose consequence over approval, you break the chain. You stop performing, you start deciding. And the people who've been managing you through judgment lose their leverage. That shift from fearing what they think to accepting what might happen is where power begins. 4. Machiavelli's principle. Exposure weakens, mystery dominates. Machiavelli understood something most people refuse to accept. The more you reveal, the less you control. Exposure doesn't build trust. It builds targets. When people know everything about you, they know how to predict you, manipulate you, corner you. Mystery, on the other hand, commands respect. It creates space. It forces others to fill the silence with their own projections, their own fears. And fear, even subtle fear, is a form of power. The moment you over-explain yourself, justify your actions, or seek approval through transparency, you hand them the blueprint to your vulnerabilities. This isn't about deception, it's about strategy. A leader who reveals every doubt, every hesitation, every internal conflict loses authority. Not because honesty is wrong, but because people don't follow uncertainty. They follow confidence. And confidence requires boundaries, knowing what to show and what to withhold. I've seen executives destroy their own dominance by being too open. They thought vulnerability made them relatable. It made them weak. Their teams stopped fearing consequence. They stopped respecting decisions. Because once you expose the machinery behind your power, people stop seeing the power. They see the gears, and gears can be dismantled. Consider a negotiation. The person who speaks first, who reveals their position, their limits, their desperation, loses. The one who listens, who withholds, who lets the other side fill the silence with assumptions, controls the frame. This applies everywhere. relationships, business, social dynamics. The more you explain your reasoning, the more ammunition you provide for disagreement. The more you justify your boundaries, the more negotiable they become. Mystery isn't about hiding weakness. It's about refusing to make yourself an open book. Because people respect what they can't fully predict, and they fear what they don't entirely understand. Exposure also kills fear, and fear is one of the most effective instruments of control. Not terror, just the quiet awareness that crossing you carries consequence. When people know your limits, they know exactly how far they can push. When they know your emotional triggers, they know exactly which buttons to press. But when you operate with calculated silence, when your responses are unpredictable, when your boundaries are enforced without explanation, you become a force they can't map. That uncertainty breeds caution, and caution is respect in disguise. Machiavelli didn't teach cruelty, he taught clarity, and clarity says the less they know, the more they respect. So ask yourself, what have you been revealing that serves no purpose except to ease your own discomfort? What have you been explaining that didn't need explanation? Every time you justify yourself, you're seeking approval. Every time you overshare, you're trying to manage how others see you. And that need, that desperate need to be understood, weakens you. Mystery isn't about being cold, it's about being sovereign. You don't owe anyone access to your internal world, and the moment you stop granting it freely, you reclaim dominance. 5. The psychology of public humiliation. Public humiliation doesn't just hurt, it rewires you. The moment you're exposed in front of others, something shifts in your psychology. It's not the act itself that destroys you, it's the audience. Being humiliated privately is painful. Being humiliated publicly is erasure. Because now it's not just your failure, it's their memory of your failure. And that memory becomes your identity. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with less certainty. You second-guess every move because somewhere in your mind, you're still standing in that moment, being watched, being judged, being reduced. This is why public humiliation is a weapon. It doesn't just damage reputation, it fractures confidence at the root. I've watched people recover from bankruptcy, betrayal, even physical violence. But public humiliation, that stays. Because it's not about what happened. It's about who saw it happen. The brain doesn't distinguish between physical threat and social threat. Both trigger the same survival response. Both flood you with cortisol, adrenaline, fear. And once that association forms, public exposure equals danger. You start avoiding visibility altogether. You shrink. You comply. You do whatever it takes to never feel that again. Look at how power structures use this. A boss doesn't fire the rebellious employee. He humiliates them in front of the team. A leader doesn't debate the dissenter. He mocks them publicly until others stop listening. It's not about winning the argument. It's about making an example. Because when one person is publicly destroyed, everyone else gets the message. Step out of line, and you're next. This is control through fear, disguised as consequence. And it works because most people would rather submit quietly than risk becoming the spectacle. The psychology is simple. Survival instincts override pride. And those instincts say, stay invisible, stay safe. But here's what makes it even more effective. The audience participates. They don't just witness the humiliation. They enforce it. They laugh. They share it. They turn your moment of weakness into entertainment. And that collective judgment amplifies the damage tenfold. Because now, it's not just one person attacking you. It's the group. And the group feels infinite. This is why cancel culture, public shaming, and social media pile-ons are so destructive. It's not one critic, it's a mob. And the brain can't process that level of social rejection without fracturing something fundamental. You stop trusting yourself. You start performing for approval. And performance is just another word for submission. The people who survive public humiliation without breaking understand one truth. The audience doesn't matter. Their judgment is theater. Their memory is short. And their opinion has no bearing on your actual worth. But most people never reach that realization. They internalize the humiliation. They let it define them. And from that point forward, every decision they make is shaped by the fear of repeating that experience. They become predictable, manageable, controlled. And the ones who humiliated them never have to do it again. The threat alone is enough. 6. How power thrives when shame dies. The moment you stop feeling shame, you become dangerous. Not violent, not reckless. Dangerous in the way that matters. Unpredictable, uncontrollable, immune to the social levers that manage everyone else. Shame is the invisible fence that keeps people in line. It stops you from asking for more, from refusing bad deals, from walking away when you should. And the second that fence disappears, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop wondering if you deserve what you want. You just take it. That shift from internal hesitation to external action is where power consolidates. Because power doesn't grow in guilt, it grows in clarity. I've seen this transformation up close. A man spends years playing by the rules, staying modest, never pushing too hard. Then something breaks. A betrayal, a loss, a moment where the system he trusted reveals itself as a lie. And suddenly, the shame he carried, the fear of being seen as selfish, aggressive, cold, evaporates. He stops caring what people think. He stops softening his words. He stops apologizing for his ambition. And within months, everything changes. Not because he became cruel, because he became clear. He started operating without the drag of emotional negotiation. And people responded, not with love, with respect. Because respect doesn't come from being likable, it comes from being formidable. This is the paradox most people never grasp. Shame makes you weak, but its absence makes you powerful. When you carry shame, every decision passes through a filter. What will they think? Will I be judged? Am I being too much? That filter slows you down. It softens your boundaries. It makes you second-guess your instincts. But when shame dies, that filter disappears. You act on logic, not emotion. You make moves based on outcome, not approval. And that ruthless efficiency terrifies people, because they've spent their entire lives operating within the boundaries of shame. And here you are, moving freely outside them. That freedom looks like dominance, and dominance attracts power. Consider the corporate world. The executive who refuses to feel guilty for firing underperformers, for making unpopular decisions, for prioritizing profit over sentiment, rises. The one who agonizes over every choice, who tries to be fair, who sacrifices efficiency for likability, stalls. It's not that the ruthless executive is smarter, he's just unencumbered. He doesn't carry the psychological weight of worrying whether he's a good person. He operates with a single focus: results. And results don't care about your internal moral narrative. They care about action, consequence, and control. Shame is the tax you pay for caring too much about being seen as virtuous. Power is the reward for caring more about being effective. The collapse of shame isn't about becoming a monster, it's about refusing to be domesticated. It's about understanding that the people who judge you for acting in your own interest are often the same people who benefit from your restraint. They need you to feel bad about wanting more. They need you to apologize for setting boundaries. Because the moment you stop, their leverage disappears. And when leverage disappears, power shifts. You stop being someone they manage. You become someone they have to negotiate with, and negotiation only happens between equals. 7. The rise of ruthless self-interest. Self-interest isn't a flaw, it's a survival mechanism. But you've been conditioned to see it as something ugly, something to hide, something that makes you less human. That conditioning serves a purpose. It keeps you manageable. Because the moment you prioritize your own needs without guilt, without explanation, without seeking permission, you stop being useful to people who profit from your compliance. Ruthless self-interest isn't about cruelty. It's about clarity. It's about understanding that no one will protect your interests with the same intensity you will. And anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you a leash disguised as loyalty. Watch how the game actually plays. The people who succeed aren't the ones who sacrifice the most. They're the ones who calculate the most. They give when it serves them. They help when it builds leverage. They cooperate when the return is worth it. And they walk away the second the equation shifts. This isn't sociopathy. It's strategy. A CEO doesn't keep a failing division out of sentimentality. A politician doesn't support a losing policy out of principle. They cut what doesn't serve the objective. They act with ruthless efficiency, and the world rewards them for it. Not because they're bad people, because they understand that resources, time, energy, capital, emotion are finite, and wasting them on obligation is how you lose. I learned this the hard way. Spent years helping people who never returned the favor. Gave advice, connections, opportunities, expecting reciprocity. It never came. Not because they were ungrateful, because I taught them I didn't require it. I operated from generosity. They operated from self-interest. And self-interest always wins against generosity in the long game. The shift happened when I stopped giving without terms. When I started asking, what's in this for me? Not out loud, internally. Every interaction became a negotiation, every favor became conditional, and suddenly people respected my time. They valued my input, because scarcity creates value. And the moment you stop being freely available, you become expensive. This is why ruthless self-interest is rising. Not because people are becoming worse, because they're becoming smarter. They're recognizing that the social contract is a scam. You're told to be selfless, to think of others, to sacrifice for the greater good. Meanwhile, the people preaching that message, they're optimizing for themselves. They're building wealth while you build character. They're setting boundaries while you overextend. They're protecting their interests while you protect everyone else's. And at some point, the dissonance becomes unbearable. You either wake up and recalibrate, or you stay stuck, wondering why loyalty and kindness never paid off. Here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud, the people who win aren't the most moral, they're the most strategic. They understand that self-interest isn't optional, it's foundational. You can dress it up with ethics, frame it with fairness, soften it with generosity. But at the core, every decision you make either serves you or diminishes you, and the ones who thrive are the ones who stop pretending otherwise. Ruthless self-interest isn't the absence of values. It's the presence of priorities. And priorities, when enforced without apology, become power. 8. The strategy of controlled indifference. Indifference is a weapon, not the passive kind, the strategic kind. The kind that makes people work harder for your attention, respect your boundaries without question, and fear losing access to you. Controlled indifference isn't about not caring. It's about appearing as though you don't need the outcome. And the moment you stop needing, you start controlling. Because people sense desperation the way animals sense fear. It changes how they treat you. It shifts the power dynamic. And once that shift happens, you're no longer negotiating from strength. You're negotiating from weakness. Indifference resets that equation. It forces them to care more because you care less. This plays out everywhere. A man chases a woman, calls twice a day, shows up uninvited, makes himself fully available. She loses interest. Not because he's unattractive, because he's predictable. He's already won her attention, so she stops valuing it. But the man who responds slowly, who has other priorities, who doesn't rearrange his life for her validation, becomes a challenge. She pursues. Not because he's better, because he's indifferent. The same psychology applies in business. The vendor who seems desperate for your contract gets lowballed. The one who walks away when the terms aren't right gets better terms. Indifference communicates value. Desperation communicates expendability. I've used this in negotiations where the other side held more leverage. Instead of begging for better terms, I went silent, stopped responding, let them sit with the uncertainty. Within days, they reached out, offered concessions, not because I had more power, because I acted like I didn't need the deal. And that perception, that I had options, that I could walk away without consequence, created urgency on their end. This is the paradox of negotiation. The side that cares less wins. Not because they don't care, because they've learned to mask how much they care. And that mask, that controlled indifference, becomes leverage. But here's where most people fail. They confuse indifference with neglect. They think pulling back means disappearing. It doesn't. Controlled indifference is calculated. You're still present, still engaged, but you're no longer chasing. You're no longer proving your worth. You're no longer seeking approval or validation. You've shifted from reactive to selective. You respond when it serves you. You engage when the terms align. And when they don't, you withdraw without explanation. No anger, no emotional justification, just distance. And that distance, calm, deliberate, unexplained, creates more impact than any argument ever could. The people who master this become untouchable. Not because they're cold, because they've eliminated the emotional dependency that makes most people controllable. They don't need your approval to feel confident. They don't need your validation to make decisions. They don't need your attention to feel powerful. And that independence, that self-sufficiency, makes them magnetic. Because everyone else is performing, negotiating, seeking, chasing. And here's someone who isn't. Someone who exists outside the usual patterns of social desperation. That anomaly draws people in, and once they're drawn in, you control the dynamic, because you never needed them to begin with. Shame collapsed because it stopped serving the people who carried it. It became a tool for control, not protection. And the moment enough people recognized that, the system broke. What rises now isn't chaos. It's clarity. Ruthless, calculated, unapologetic clarity. The kind that prioritizes survival over sentiment. The kind that refuses to negotiate with guilt. Machiavelli didn't predict the collapse of shame because he was cynical. He predicted it because he understood human nature. And human nature, when freed from artificial restraint, operates on one principle: self-interest. You either adapt to that reality, or you become its casualty. Watch the next video. The system wants you weak. Machiavelli predicted this. It continues exactly where this ends. Write in the comments, shame is control. The collapse isn't coming, it's already here. And you're either awake to it, or you're still performing for an audience that stopped caring years ago.